Well, it's time for everyone's favorite genre video, talking about a VTuber who's a piece of shit. Just it's just one of those classic videos that I make where I run into a VTuber who's a piece of shit online, and against my will, I see that they're a piece of shit, and then because of that, I then share it with you, and we all just point and laugh. So the video that started all this is by a VTuber named Mia Sue. This whole entire controversy starts with like this video right here, where she kind of tweeted, "Don't do this, please." And it's a video of her reacting to a Sonic YouTube video, and just you'll see why people are starting to get so mad at her and the way she's acting in the situation.
The voice acting for Mike Pollock is so good, it's clear that despite his pretty horrendous views on Palestinians, he has cemented himself, at least for me, as the voice of Eggman. And of course, we also have...
Oh my... you know what? Nope. Now that I heard that, I'm clicking out of it. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done. He was saying that Mike Pollock has really bad views in Palestinians or whatever. And I'm like, we don't live there, for crying out loud. Leave them alone. They don't want you to free Palestine. Bro, leave them alone, for crying out loud. Like, oh my gosh. Well, I mentioned that in the video about Sonic X Near. Yeah, like, what the heck? Imagine taking sides in a foreign conflict. Exactly. I was about to upload it as a video too, so much for that. I was gonna upload it later this week.
And so like, there's a lot of things wrong with this minute and 8 second long video. One of it is her just throwing a hissy fit over someone saying that someone has really bad views on Palestine, just like, and then like, having this like little funnel caption saying, "Don't do this, please," which like, as we all know, what's going on in Palestine, what Israel's doing in Palestine is considered a genocide by the Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, which are both international, like highly held in high regard, international human rights organizations. And on top of that, it's kind of going like, oh, why are we bringing Palestinians into this stuff or whatever they're called, like. It's just like throwing an absolute just fit over someone mentioning that and like, having a more holistic perspective on the Sonic game. I think that's what they was talking about in the video, the YouTuber that she was watching. And that's something you really notice if you aren't like as terminally online as I am, but she has kind of like an insanely similar cadence to how Asmongold speaks, which is like, no, whoa, wait, hey, we're not doing this. Oh, this was so good, man. Oh, it was so good until they made it, the political and all this stuff. And she's like, at the end, she had like a really stupid take. It's like, oh, why are we getting involved? Like, why are we commenting on foreign, conflicts, like what are we doing? We're not even a part of that. And like, Palestinians don't want you to free Palestine. Just an absolute spew of stupidity. And obviously, she got a lot of flack for this. And so this is the first response video that I could find that she made about this bad take. It's only called "My Response to the Whole Thing," where she quote retweeted her own video. And let's see what she has to say.
I am not here to apologize. I'm here to explain why I clicked out of that video. I clicked out of it simply because that was uncalled for. It was out of the left field. That is a statement that correlates with the whole transgender views and the community that tried to cancel me in the first place. That is why I had to click out of that video and leave it alone. It's unnecessary to bring up. And, we just want to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, and we wanted to hear what Sonic's personality was about and how they can improve on that video. It was a good video until that was brought up. It was unnecessary. The whole Palestine thing, I don't know what's going on there. I don't look at that stuff because it's not concerning to me. There's nothing going on where I live, where I am affected as a person, as I already have too many things to worry about in my life. Thank you for listening.
Where the fuck did trans people come in here? Not once in the Sonic video that you were watching, where I guess like the thing you made a big hoopla about, where trans people mentioned. Where the fuck did they come from? What the fuck do you mean that you don't agree with that whole idea or whatever? Where is this in that entire situation? Why is that the first thing you were like talking about in a video where you clicked off for free Palestine? Now obviously she goes off and like says like, oh, I have no idea what's going on there. I have no clue. It's not concerning to me. Which, like, this take, obviously, I might come to a shock of a lot of people, but, like, you've seen these, like, spring break videos that have come out, like, the last week or two, where people really just have no fucking idea what's happening in the world, especially, like, Americans, because they just, like living in their worlds of bliss. So, like, that's, like, not the most egregious thing. Like, obviously, if you're online on a VTuber, people kind of have the assumption that you're supposed to know it. And, like, sure, you should probably know it, especially if like some sort of community anyway, because it might affect members of your community. But like, it's not shocking to see someone just go, I have no fucking idea what's happening over there, which it is still annoying. It's still like a, a pretty Weasley way out of it. But it's just like she's trying to cop herself out in there. And like the fact that once again you bring in like trans people in, where she says like, oh, these are the people who try to like cancel me in the first place, in that community tried to cancel me in the first place. That's why it was so uncalled for. And it's just insane because like not a single person had mentioned trans people at all in this entire situation until you just brought them up out of fucking left field. If we're talking about stuff that is getting brought out of left field. And I think also, you know, you can tell that she calls it transgender views when like by saying that like, you know, people are trans based off an opinion and not like an actual scientific fact that has been studied for the past like 3 or 4 decades and even longer. You can already tell where this is going. And so this video, obviously, a lot of people were mad about it again because stupid ass take. Then she obviously responded to this one because she kicked up more controversy. But first she made a little tweet kind of just saying how good she was, where she went like this. In the beginning, I was afraid to speak out. I'm generally happy that I've spoken out about all this stuff. It's definitely made the right people show up in my community, and it's really nice. Everyone is so wholesome and nice in my community live streams. I cannot be more thankful. Thank you so much for being here and showing support. So you're not even apologizing for the bullshittery that she has. And obviously, you know, you can see that she's happy about acquiring a fandom of a specific group of people who, you know, may not be the most moral and ethical human beings, especially with like the anti-trans and like, you know, I'll give benefit of doubt ambivalent to the Palestinian people. I won't say anti-Palestinian. I'll just say ambivalent to the issues. And then she made another video right here where she talked about you know, everything going wrong and everything going crazy, and like why she holds the view that she does. Now it's 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I've already played like 2 minutes of her content, so I'm just gonna kind of summarize this one for you, where she basically goes on and says, I've been in the Sonic community for a long time. And because of this, I'd had like a lot of live streams, a lot of community events where I ran into trans people and like, you know, they wanted me to use their correct pronouns. And I did that just, you know, I didn't want to stir up controversy because I felt like it was necessary to. And I just didn't want to get like any arguments or anything. And like I just felt like I just had to go along with the way and like the pronouns and all that stuff. Is basically what she was saying on trans stuff. And like she mentions Rev's death, who I've talked about before, is also one of the biggest piece of shits of all time. So this is just like a massive like pulling the veil off and being like, hey, this is who I am. Where Rev is just like an Omega Turbo piece of shit, and like so any association with it is obviously, you know, bit of a rough marking on someone's character, I will say. And then she goes on to say like the reason why she started speaking out is because like the holding back on these views and the holding like back on and the going with like, you know, respecting people's pronouns and all that stuff was just against who she was and against like she felt like she was lying about who she was to people, I guess, because she was trying to hide that she was a piece of shit. And that she was like finally happy that, you know, this made it so she got 9,000 followers. So we can kind of see what the motivation is behind this real, you know, unmasking of what she truly believes in. If, you know, in her addressing the situation video involves just a mention of her follower count, a mention of her, I think it was her Twitter follower account. And like it's just like it continuously just like revealing more and more about how bad of a person she is, or like how bad takes she has, and just it's just a snowball going down a hill at Mach 10 at this point. And then she also like does like one more thing where she tries to justify her takes and like her anti-trans takes with the hate that she's like getting, and that, you know, it kind of reinforces her views and stuff like that, which like, come on. Why do you think people are mad at you? Could you possibly think that, one, out of nowhere you just started hating on trans people in a video that was about you clicking off a video that mentioned Palestine, and then maybe that's why people are hating on you, and maybe because you're trying to like, you know, not respect people as who they are. Also maybe the reason why you're getting some hate. Potentially why this is all going south with you and you're still getting hate from that group of people that you're trying to, you know, disrespect entirely and disrespect their existence. But, you know, this is the Sonic community. The Sonic community, as a someone who is on the internet a lot, is you know, it's some good woke right there. There's some good woke in there, you know. You got some pretty fine, refined woke in the Sonic community, if I do say so myself, from what I've seen of the Sonic community, because I'm not in the Sonic community. But what I've seen of the Sonic community, there's a lot of woke in there, if that sentence made any sense. And so they're just, you know, they're not reacting well to it. They're kind of just flaming the shit out of her. So this one is responding to a 2-hour and 17-minute live that she did addressing the cancel situation. That's what she called it. And this person watched the entire thing and said, if you have some time to kill, this is an insane watch. Literally says, why is there no free Mexico? And it's your fault. I told you about my takes on trans people. Which, like, I guess, is you're just absolutely, like, what the fuck happened in this live stream? What do you mean, why is there no free Mexico? Because Mexico is not under any oppression of any sort. It's not like they have a second government trying to eradicate Mexicans from the planet. That's not happening. But I guess, like, once again, you say you don't pay attention to that. So, like, maybe don't give a take on that, or don't try to justify your point if you have legitimately no fucking idea what's going on. And like, it's your fault I told you about my takes on trans people. You have the mouth that you speak with. You can and have the sole ability to determine what you say online. You're still a piece of shit if you hold these beliefs, but like, you didn't have to say it. You didn't have to like spread your shit words. You could have just held it up and just not said it. But like, I mean, I'm not surprised that she had bad takes if we just have listened to the last like however long I've been speaking for. Another one is the person from the Sonic community, heartwarming, most ignorant person on the planet, brings Sonic community together once again over how absolutely terrible their take is. Anyways, through Palestine. I guess we have someone who's in the Sonic community is understanding that the Sonic community is coming together in their opposition of this person's take. And I don't know if she's gonna have a safe space in the Sonic community for much longer if I read the room right. And then the final thing here is like this person just criticizing her for like, you know, saying that she got triggered by the word Palestinian, and like also just like saying you know what's going on, but then also like having a take and being against like this guy taking the side of Palestinians, which is, you know, kind of a very conflicting viewpoint if you just have such a vitriolic reaction to what's going, or to someone attacking someone for having bad views on Palestine, and then also saying I don't know what the fuck's going on there. I got too many things to worry about. Seems like you're just a lying piece of shit and you're trying to cover your own tail. And then also she also then goes on to like say like Mia's take is really bad by saying like, oh, it's not personally affecting me. I mean, like, once again, I said, like, that's, like, a large quantity of Americans that people don't really understand that it's a thing that happens. But it's still just, like, an overall stupid fucking take to have where it's, like, it just sounds like you're an apathetic piece of shit. And you should at least attempt to know what's going on, especially if someone, like, brings it up to you like that. And instead of saying, I don't know what's going on, it doesn't affect me. There's too much stuff going on. When what's going on is a genocide. Perhaps we could probably speak better on the situation or just not speak at all like you should have done. And so, like, my experience with this, like, Mia Zoo person, really started with one tweet and it just started getting worse. As soon as I kept on seeing what she was saying about the situation, it just got worse and worse and worse. And it's kind of surprising how bad it's gotten overall for the takes that this Mia person has been making. And it's another example of just, this is actually a double whammy now that I think about it, now that I've thought about it. Because like, once again, I've talked about how VTubing is a very, you know, queer space and a very like woke space and all that stuff like that. And now you're also like doing this while also part of the Sonic community, which is also very, very like left-leaning woke queer space. How the fuck did you find yourself in the situation that you're in? Both the community, the VTubing style. What the hell? How do you have these views and end up in here? Like, obviously, I know people who like don't agree with the mass views of a community still find themselves in there. It's just crazy that like this is like a double whammy. It's like you're crossing streams. Like it should have blasted you out, Mach 10 out of both of these communities once you realize like what people are saying. But you somehow stuck through and made it this far, which is, I guess, like the single one impressive thing about this person. That's just how it goes sometimes. That's just how it is sometimes. That's really all I have to say. I feel like I've aired out my grievances with this one. So this is, I think, number 8. That's all I got to say for today. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.